clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Evans Clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
It's Adam here. Now, would you say that you, at some point in your life, have been guilty of chasing cheap thrills? And when I say that, I'm talking about things that are low value, but maybe give you an instant boost of dopamine or perhaps some other kind of stimulation. Now, the client that I was working with, the kind of cheap thrills that they were interested in were sexual cheap thrills. We're talking porn or sex workers, things like that. And they knew that it was quite temporary. Quite often they felt disappointed. They kind of felt a little bit hollow afterwards in a lot of time that they would do it, because they were chasing the essence of something, which was connection, but actually they were choosing a poor quality, cheap thrill substitute for what they really wanted, which was connection. This session is all about reprioritizing that to harness the ability to create a new standard of saying, actually, I don't want that. I actually want something much, much better. And you can think of a food analogy here. The equivalent of cheap thrills in food is lots of highly processed food like confectionery and snacks and junk food. And actually, it can feel kind of good in the moment, but actually in the bits that follow, which could be weight gain, bad teeth, poor skin, generally, and bad sleep, generally it doesn't do good things for you, but really good quality real food, you enjoy it in the moment and you enjoy what it does for your body. Now, the sexual equivalent of that might be a real meaningful relationship that could actually lead somewhere. Part of also with this particular client is that they were considering moving to a different city. So this gave us the ability to say, well, not only do they not want cheap thrills, but they actually get to have a new standard where the version of them in the new city holds themselves to a higher standard. Now, the problem is a lot of people going through something tricky or in certain ruts and routines have the idea of, oh, I'll just move a different country, a different city. That doesn't work because you're taking yourself with you. It does work if the version of you that you take has different standards and different strategies, in which case you can be then congruent with that version of you in the new place. And you can leave all of the old habits in the old place. That's when it's really, really powerful if you're considering moving anyway. You don't have to do that. It's just if you are, there is an extra upside in a form of reinvention. Some people do that if they change jobs and they want to be a slightly different version of themselves in the new place because nobody really knows what they were like before. They can hold themselves to a higher standard. So if you want to raise your standards, if you want something more meaningful, or if you want to break certain habits that you consider cheap thrills, this is the session for you. It was created for an individual. Some of the suggestions would have been perfect for the client I was working with and not quite right for you. So ignore any suggestions that don't fit, hone into the ones that do. And if you like the idea of working with me directly, check out my website, adamcox.co.uk, or look in the description and you'll see various ways that you can work with me directly. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a wonderful feeling of calm. And as you exhale, allow your eyelids to release any tension. Feel the heaviness of those eyelids and allow the relaxation to spread to all the tiny muscles of your eyes. all the way up to your eyebrows, then your forehead, then down to your jaw, your neck and your shoulders. I want you to imagine a helium balloon, and just for a moment, imagine what your head would feel like if it was a brightly coloured helium balloon on a string. Feel the lightness, the floaty sensation, that it requires no effort for your head to just float there. And in doing so, allow any tension around the back of the neck, where the neck meets the shoulders, and then down your arms to just release. That's it. Allow the muscles in your jaw to loosen, and allow each breath to take you deeper and deeper relaxed. That's it. And when you breathe in for deeper. And when you exhale, allow the outward breath to keep on going. Breathing in deeper, exhaling for longer. Each breath takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. And notice how comfortable you start to feel. The gentle rhythm of your breathing in and out. Tap into that feeling of peace, calm, and tranquility, allowing the kind of stillness that comes naturally, the kind that begins paying attention to something deeper. That's it. And the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. Each breath takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. And as you follow that rhythm of your breathing, something interesting happens. Attention is like a lens, and where it focuses, experience changes. When attention is scattered, the mind will look for quick stimulation. But when focus and attention become steady, the mind begins recognizing real value. And just noticing the slow, steady breath can begin sharpening and focusing that inner lens. Breathing in and releasing when you exhale. Each breath may enable you to notice a growing sense of distance. Distance from noise, from distractions, from old habits that once pulled attention in certain directions. And the more you think about habits, the more fascinating they become. Because habits are curious things. They often begin as shortcuts to relief, a quick way to change how you feel, an instant way to escape pressure. But in most cases, the shortcut is always the long road. Shortcuts have a cost. They trade long-term value for short-term stimulation. And the mind that is awakening is already recognizing the difference. Imagine now, standing on on the side of a mountain, looking out to a wide, open landscape. Not empty, but full of possibility. And from this elevation, you can see other mountains in the distance, or lakes, or open fields, or rivers cutting through valleys. And allow this landscape to represent your life. Not just your work, but the whole territory. Travel, adventure, golf courses stretching over quiet hills, cities yet to be explored, connections yet to be made. And I want you to think of the infinite experiences that haven't even entered your awareness yet. You don't know what you don't know. And what if something important is happening in your life now? What if the energy that once went into narrow channels is being reclaimed, reinvested, directed into building a life? And when life becomes interesting, addictive substitutes start to lose their appeal. Substitutes only exist when something real is missing. And somewhere in that vast landscape, there are different paths. There is the path of familiarity, a path of instant gratification, easy access, like a tap that whenever you turn it, exactly what you think you want is going to flow. And that tap may be accessed by browsing online, swiping on an app, sending a message, making a call. And that path seems exciting. It risks any human element of loss because it avoids vulnerability. But when you think more about that pathway into a future, you begin noticing that nothing meaningful grows there. It's a closed system. Energy goes in, and nothing lasting comes out. The things that come out are repetition, short-term pleasure, but more often than not, disappointment, shame, or regret. And the man you are becoming has recognized that pattern. You've looked behind the curtain. You've seen what it's really like, how rarely it lives up to an expectation. And I want you to feel that you've never been so clear. And once something is clearly seen, it stops having the same pull. There are many people that used to love going to theme parks. But if they got a job in a theme park, even for a few weeks, the magic of the theme park loses its appeal entirely because they've seen behind the curtain. You've seen behind the curtain. You know that all that glitters is not gold, that fantasies are not reality. So let's imagine turning your attention towards that second pathway, one that feels different, not quite so easy, maybe a longer road, because it requires something from you. It requires effort, discernment, patience, clarity of boundaries. It's a more difficult, rugged, riskier path, but it also offers something the first path never could: value, real connection, shared experiences, a partner whose presence improves your life rather than draining it. I want you to imagine a future with someone who shares your values, someone you respect and respects you, someone who feels worthy of your time, but worth your time, worth your attention, worth your energy. And something fascinating happens when the mind commits to higher value. Lower value options lose their attraction, not because they are forbidden, but because they are so irrelevant. There are people in the world that are eating rotten food, moldy food, or waste of other people's food because they are so hungry. But once good quality food is available, why would anyone have the inferior food? Your mind already understands this principle because it exists everywhere in life. A person chasing the cheap thrills rarely builds anything valuable. The investor and the gambler want the same thing. They want a return on their investment. The gambler gets the dopamine, the rush, the excitement. But the risk-return ratio guarantees they will lose. The investor is also taking a risk, but because they have patience and discernment, they are rewarded with something valuable that grows way beyond their initial investment. I want you to think of yourself as a person pursuing something meaningful. And by definition, you need to be discerning and selective. How you spend your time, your money, your thoughts and emotions. How to be strategic and intentional. And this shift is already happening within you. You like taking risks. But why take risks with no payoff when you can take risks with a huge payoff? If you could buy a lottery ticket where you had no chance of winning, and a lottery ticket that could lead to millions, and the cost of the ticket is the same, why would you ever buy the ticket if there was no chance of getting what you actually want? So allow your inner instinct to evolve. Before, risk was directed towards stimulation, satisfaction, short-term pleasure, but now risk becomes investment. Investment in relationships, investment in experiences, but most of all, investment in becoming the man capable of attracting someone extraordinary. To attract someone extraordinary, the law of attraction says you can become someone extraordinary. And these meaningful relationships are not found by accident. They are attracted through alignment. And alignment begins with standards. And standards are not restrictions. They are standards. High standards. Standards that quietly define the direction of your life. And allow your mind to wonder what those standards could be that enhances the quality of your life now and increases the probability of an even better life in the future. You can make these standards simple, clear, and non-negotiable. And maybe one of those standards is clarity. No looking for or paying for anything related to sex. There'll be a part of your mind, your brain, that feels that it's missing out, but what it's missing out on is meaningless. But by closing the door to meaningless, you open the door of possibility to meaningful. Those systems exist only to recycle attention and drain energy. And your attention is becoming far too valuable to waste. You can also have boundaries as to when and where you use your phone. Maybe certain applications are deleted, certain sites are blocked, certain rooms are no-go areas to take your phone with. Because in the time, don't be surprised in those same locations you get ideas, inspiration, epiphanies and clarity that help you move towards the future you desire. But the third standard is the most important. It's about living in accordance with the values that you desire. From this point onwards, you could decide to enforce a boundary where sex exists only within the pursuit or within the structure of a meaningful relationship. No longer dating for hookups, but dating for the kind of relationship you would desire. And what if intimacy regains its value that way? When it's connected to possibility, vulnerability, when it's connected to trust and a desire to build something meaningful. You can either accept these boundaries now or consider planting seeds and allowing your intuition to know exactly when these standards become standards you can live by. You may even find that sooner than you think, they begin operating automatically, quietly, naturally, like a compass pointing towards the north. And now imagine the possibility of a new city. Different streets, different people, different energy. You can become whoever you want to be. And sometimes a new city is a fresh start to be that version of you, even before you arrive. Consider it a psychological reset, not necessary, but maybe useful. And what makes that city powerful is not the city, but the identity you bring with you to that city. And the version of you arriving there will have already changed, already have higher standards, already have a clear mission and direction, already has hobbies and interests and passions, things that excite you, a catalyst to make new friendships, meet new people. You are building a life that another person would want to join rather than escape from. And when you build a life worth sharing, certain people will gravitate and resonate toward it. And that version of you will remember a time when you sought gratification and know that you don't want that anymore. And what if, either in that city or a different city, you meet someone, not because you chased it desperately, but because your life created the conditions for it, where you recognize shared values, shared curiosity, and shared direction. Before long, something becomes obvious. You are building something together, which is far more valuable than anything temporary you left behind. And there will be no sense of sacrifice, no sense of missing out, because what you have is richer, more meaningful, more alive. And from this moment forward, your mind begins treating attention as a valuable resource. Your time becomes an investment. Your energy becomes a resource. And your choices align with the future you want. A meaningful relationship, a fulfilling life beyond work. And maybe there's a growth in your finances, your career, and a growing family. And every time you make a decision, small or big, that aligns with that future, you will feel an immediate boost in confidence, self-esteem, and personal pride. And every time you say no to something that doesn't fit your boundaries, you will feel a wonderful feeling that you are heading in exactly the direction that you desire. And the more you become the person you want to be, the more you will naturally attract the person you're meant to be with. And as you hold that thought, allow yourself to return from the city, from the mountainside, and all the way back to the present, as if you've been on a journey within your imagination, a journey of thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, and dreams within dreams. It's now time to awaken, so take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now, as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.